And we're back.
Yep. Well, whoever is behind the wheel in each of your limos, once you get into them, and yes, it is in fact correct that the two Get-A Fenris get the Humvees and the rest of you get the Bentleys. The Hummers are somehow more powerful looking. However, the Bentleys might be slightly more luxurious. That's not to say that the Hummers aren't super luxurious on the inside as well. They certainly are. And yes, there are a couple of those driving around the streets of Dublin. That being said, they take you along the scenic route. It's not just that they drive directly there because, you know, you guys have each of you now have some time to luxuriate in the back of a limo with a minibar, which has been stocked, incidentally. And yes, there is alcohol and there are different kinds of soda if that's what takes your fancy. There's a little bit of everything.
Yes, I think Taliesin will be taking particular note of the little things like that, the fact that they are going the long way around, the fact that there is drink, the fact that everyone is getting a separate limo. We don't have anyone else in the huge space else with us, do we? Or...
Nope. Each of you have your own. You all have your own limo, and yeah.
Yes, I think he's definitely taking note of just how calculated each individual aspect of their journey is.
Yep.
In regards to what it means in terms of the kind of...
Well, it takes... The trip, I should say, that's probably something you will want to notice then. The trip should take something like 10 minutes. It takes more like half an hour. So you have time to really enjoy yourselves.
Does anyone...
I think Connell will make it his mission to empty the Hummer of any kind of liquid, snacks and so forth.
Just as long as he doesn't then refill it with liquid.
Finna just leans back and takes up a lot of space in this limo. Gets some alcohol before that. Takes a selfie. Sends it to Connor with the word bitchin'.
Yeah.
That's good. That's definitely good.
Continuing... sorry.
It should also be pointed out in Fenna's limo specifically, there are no reflective surfaces anywhere. Everything is matte.
That's good.
Yep.
Someone's done their research.
Yep.
Someone
would have been a bit of a faux pas if I hadn't called certain things in.
Yeah, fair enough. Taliesin, for his part, will, as Jonas mentioned, he'll probably take note of the fact that this is an extra long journey. He will make sure to tuck the cigarette he did have behind his ear into a place that is both easily accessible without it crumpling it and yet discreet, like a jacket pocket or something. And he will probably help himself to an alcoholic drink of a milder variety, certainly.
Yes.
He won't go overboard.
Okay. Well, as I said, it takes about 30 minutes. Then you arrive at the marker. Each car rolls up in turn. There's a valet who opens the door for you and lets you out. And then basically, you can see a couple of other valets standing by the door, opening it for you. It should also be noted that the last car to arrive out of the 6 is Aaron's.
I think when my door is opened, it's just like this. I imagine they're soundproof. So when the doors open, it's just this suffocatingly loud Chopin blasting out of the cabin that I've used to kind of drown out my own thoughts.
Not entirely impossible, indeed.
There's this brief explosion of piano music, and then it fades as the door shuts.
Yep. And you... Yep.
explode.
Yep, definitely. The
Definitely explode.
Yeah, definitely explode. Well, you are let out of the cars, as I said. You are shown in to the hotel. There is there's a young man in livery who is waiting to take you to the separate lift or elevator, which will take you up to the presidential suite.
It's very nice that they've done all the prep work.
They do. There's this young man takes you up on the large, spacious elevator. You are not in any way squeezed in. It's also very, very smooth ride. So basically, he pushes the button, and then you guys don't actually feel like you're moving until the door opens again, and you are now at the top floor.
So, question.
Yes.
As a person, personally, with absolutely zero social graces, is it proper for? Would it be proper for Aaron to offer an elbow to any of the females in the group, despite them not having any romantic relationship?
No, because there's no romantic relationship. You shouldn't.
All right. See, these are things I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine.
That is why you ask.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine. But they will be basically they are shown in one at a time. You are all shown in one person at a time. You are introduced by the valet letting you in, and as you enter the room, you see a tall, very handsome, dark-haired man in his mid-40s. He's got just the tiniest touch of silver in his hair. He's got there's a lot of noise.
Yeah, something got very crackly there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it too.
It's gone. Good.
Yep.
It's gone.
He has just the tiniest touch of silver in his hair. He has a short beard, which is cropped very close to his face, but it is definitely there. He is immaculately dressed in a black suit, which is obviously tailored to him. It looks he manages the impossible, which means that he actually looks relaxed in a suit.
Yeah, that requires them to be tailor-made.
It's still, in my personal opinion, a physical impossibility, but he somehow manages it anyway, because this is, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, this is Werewolf the Apocalypse, in a game in which supernatural events occur. It is therefore possible for a man to look good and relaxed in a suit.
So this is also like the kind of game where you can be a male co-worker maintaining a totally platonic relationship with an attractive female.
Yes, that would also be possible.
That is also possible in the real world. I don't think you said that he had to be straight.
Oh my, that's right. Well, shame on me for messing up the Rick and Morty reference.
Right. Anyway.
Yeah, So
yeah, that is the situation. He is standing in the middle of a very, very, very luxuriously furnished room.
Toccata and fugue plays in the background.
No, he has at the moment there's no music.
No, I'm sorry, I was...
He is, at the moment, there is no sound except, as I said, the valet who introduces each of you in turn. And as you are shown in for the young women, he approaches, and the girls go in first. He will approach each of you as you enter and extend his hand with a very polite smile. Would you each accept it?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Tara answers in the same polite way.
Yes.
Yeah, she was also, with a small nod. And...
Yes. He kisses the back of each of your hands, or at least he indicates a kiss at the back of each of your hands, which is far more polite. And
in that case, I might indicate a small curtsy.
Yes, and he
Venna fails a curtsy.
She tries. He smiles.
She just sort of squats.
Yes. he smiles very politely to each of you and introduces himself as Michael Blackwell, also known as Black Racer. But as he says to each of you, but please, by all means, do call me Michael. We are here in a social capacity, after all. It is my pleasure to meet each of you. And once he's met the young women, then Connell and Taliesin are shown in that order. He extends his hand to each of them, gives them a firm handshake if they accept it.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he introduces himself with a smile, saying that his name is Michael Blackwell, also known as Black Racer, and that he is pleased to meet you. And then finally, his son is led into the room. He obviously is not actually introduced.
And this is your son.
It does seem a little, just a little redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he does look all of you over as you are now fully in the room, the lot of you. And he half turns and gestures towards the there's a large and extremely luxurious looking leather sofa group. He says, well, please do have a seat. I would enjoy getting to know you, all of you.
I think as Aaron walks in, what if in the TV series Werewolf, A Song of Tara, what we would see is a slowdown of movement as he walks with there'd be like an echoing clack of the shoes as he takes each step, and there'd be like this brief flash of different scenes at different locations, which is just like a fast moving collage of a horrible childhood.
That would be possible if it wasn't for the fact that the carpets here are extremely thick and literally designed to muffle any sound.
In that case, then not that.
But yeah, anyway,
the fast-moving collage of a generally horrible childhood.
Yeah,
and then there's a fade in on Aaron's face, looking completely passive, like he's entered full presence of my father mode, which has him just like a cast mold of something he isn't.
Yeah. Anyway, he doesn't actually. He acknowledges Aaron's entrance with a nod, and then he, as I said, he indicates towards the sofa, or the sofas, I should say.
Well, Shiva thanks him, just an old polite thank you, and goes to sit down much properly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since her dress is kind of short.
Yes.
I think Taliesin does the same sort of thing. He probably does that raising of the hand for the sort of by your leave gesture.
Yes.
And then does the same.
Okay.
I think Connell, as soon as the man indicates that they're allowed to sit, he just throws himself into the couch.
Yes. That gets a slightly. You can see the corner of his mouth tug upwards. It's not really a smile, but.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Aaron sits down within equal reach of his entire pack.
Yeah. And he comes over. He doesn't sit down at first, but he does. He looks all of you over one more time, and then he asks, "Would you like something to drink? Coffee, tea, maybe a beer, a glass of wine, water, anything?"
A beer would be nice.
Certainly. Any preference?
The stronger the better.
Excellent.
I wouldn't mind a cup of tea.
Excellent. Any preference as to which kind?
Fruit, if possible.
Definitely. Certainly.
Yeah,
go on. Sorry.
I would also like a cup of tea. Spice Imperial, I think. 2 sugars, no milk.
Very good choice. Very good choice. Yes, certainly. I am myself rather partial to that in the afternoon.
An eyebrow is raised as articulately as can be done.
He looks to the rest of you to see if anybody wants anything.
Water. Thank you, Father.
Cola?
Certainly. He indicates towards, for you to look really, but towards the door where the valet was waiting. The man nods and leaves. And then Mr. Blackwell takes a seat. And he looks quite comfortable as he sits down in a chair that's the chair which is part of the sofa group, and he says, it has been over a year now since all this began. I actually sent my son here on it was meant to be a small school excursion for him to complete a small written assignment. And the next thing I know, the boy isn't coming home. And the next thing after that is I get told, or I hear from the local guru here in Dublin, that he is in fact not alone, but a part of a group of no less than 6. This is unusual, to say the least, even in the largest of septs around the world. So obviously I should like to get to know you, seeing as my son interacts with you all.
There's definitely this sense of Aaron being used to being spoken of as if he's not present.
Mm-hmm.
He just maintains a perfect posture, and he just sits there.
Yes.
Looking like a cutout.
Yes.
So Listen will probably occasionally look over at Aaron and be gauging these reactions, seeing what he does, and trying his best and using his passable acting skills to try and not let any emotion show on his face beyond what he wants to be there.
Of course.
Insofar as we can be said to have like a kind of sixth sense when it comes to being around each other, what with our rage and our inner wolf and the like level of aggressiveness and so on as exhibited by werewolves. Insofar as that can be said to be a thing you can kind of get a feeling of, it is very much diminished in Aaron as in comparison to him at any other time.
Mm-hmm.
I think if no one else answers, she will eventually say, by all means, what would you like to know?
Well, I suppose it would be unbecoming and terribly impolite of me to not be the one to open the talks, as it were. I am, as I said, my name is Michael Blackwell. I am also known as Black Razor. I am in charge of one of the very few sets in England, I should say, that are not under the control of the Phenom.
Quite a feat then, sir.
Indeed. I do not hold any illusions about it. I am perfectly aware that I am surrounded on all sides by werewolves who are not of my tribe. Obviously, this means that I have to work with them on a daily basis. I have developed an excellent understanding with everyone in my septs, and with nearby septs as well, including their leaders and their chosen alphas. That being said, I have been doing this for quite a number of years. I have I have achieved sufficient standing to warrant my leadership position within our community. And should any of you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I cannot guarantee that I will answer absolutely everything, but I shall do my best.
I have one.
Certainly, go ahead.
Why are we here?
Because I would like to know the people... That would be you, incidentally, yourself included, young man, that my son is interacting with, the people that he fraternizes with, so to say, and that he works with. I have a vested interest in him, after all.
Of course.
So, no, there is no ulterior motive here, I can assure you.
An abstract question, if I may.
Yes, certainly.
My knowledge of other septs within the British Isles is quite considerably lacking. My experiences can only be with the one I've been a part of for the last year and a quarter. I don't suppose there are any septs located in my home country with there.
You mean in Wales?
Yes.
Oh yes, several.
Delightful.
There is a significant set near Offa's-Dyke, in the northern end of it. There is a large set in Cardiff itself. And there is one out by the ocean, towards Ireland. The one in Cardiff is of considerable size. The other two are both fairly small.
That is useful information. Thank you, sir.
You are welcome.
Well, unless anyone else has any other questions, perhaps it would be good for us to start introducing ourselves to you.
I am all ears.
Well, I suspect you already know, but as you know, my name is Taliesin Blevins, otherwise known as Smokes Joints, and if you do feel curious, I don't mind answering that particular story.
He actually smiles at that and says, well, I've heard, I believe, a version of it. I'm not certain if I've heard the version of it.
Well, you know well, it certainly is a story befitting of one of the tribe I'm a part of, certainly. By the standards of others, my transition was strange and indeed bloodless, but it was informative, it was life-changing, as any first changes for a guru. But yes, I was originally meant to be here in Dublin with my mother as part of a job opportunity for her, although in recent years that has been something that has been interesting to question. But anyway, I was attempting to join the Gaiety School of Acting. That was ironically what I was...
You're a Gaillard then, I take it.
I am indeed. It did seem quite an affinity for me.
Excellent.
Usual sort of thing happens. I wake up one fine February evening, feeling such inexplicable rage as can be expected, not knowing why I feel this way. I see a raven. A strange raven, and I'm compelled to follow it all the way through Dublin to Phoenix Park. There I meet one of my own, surrounded by normal wolves, and against my better judgment...
yes, there's a large zoo in Phoenix Park, is there not?
Indeed, you have a good memory, sir.
Thank you.
He convinced me against my better judgment to join in their howling choir. That sounds a lot worse than it actually was, I'll assure you. Next thing I know, I'm halfway across Phoenix Park, stark naked, and waking up from an interesting, well,
experience. Yes, I do remember my own first change. I can assure you that the whole running around naked thing is fairly universal. There is no shame in that. incidentally. All wolves are, after all, naked. And we are indeed part wolf. It is...
Yeah.
I would say, having met one of your own, I see no reason why your particular first experience with this would be anything but bloodless. You are, I believe, the children of Gaia.
I am, sir. Although, I must admit, while I do find great wisdom from the one who found me, who was also children of Gaia, I do not follow the same path as him completely, of course.
No, we must each find our own path. It goes without saying. And incidentally, I think for a young man, and indeed for this generation of Guru that you belong to, and that you all belong to, I believe that finding your own path, and in all likelihood defining your own role here in this life, is of greater importance than perhaps ever before. When I went through my first change, feels like forever ago, but when it happened, about 30 years hence, there was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing as digital photography and these things, which made everything a more gritty and hands-on experience, but it was also somewhat less dangerous. Don't get me wrong, it was extremely dangerous for the people that happened to be in the way. Sadly, that was what happened. However, the risk of being discovered was less then than it is today. Please do go on. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No. Your story is equally fascinating. No, there's not much more to say than that. My finder took me to one of the other members of the sept, provided me with some spare clothes that could change with me if necessary, and they took me back to my mother, whom only after the fact did I learn was in fact kinfolk.
Oh, I see. Well, you are indeed lucky then. Many lose their families entirely. Which is always a tragedy, but unfortunately it sometimes has to happen for the protection of said families.
Yes, and I suspect that's why my father left when I was so young.
I want to add that Aaron has like a nervous flinch when he says that, because I assume at this point I've come to be of the understanding that the persistent parents flaw from some of you have started to show.
Yes.
It probably would have.
Well, he looks at Tally and nods and says, "Well, I do thank you for sharing your story. But speaking of parents who are unwilling to let go, it is my understanding that two of you may be struggling with this issue." And he looks towards Fenna, and he looks towards Shiva.
Of course, he already knows.
Fenna, who, by the way, looks kind of restless.
Helle, your audio is...
that is not me. I can say something. Okay.
No, it's turned off.
I can't actually hear you.
Yeah.
There you go.
There. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah. Fenna, who, by the way, seems kind of restless, grimaces a little.
Yes.
Well, since Fenna doesn't seem to respond, Shiva, who a pang of sadness crosses her face for a brief moment, and says, "Well, yes, I would be Shivani Breen, although you might have heard of me referred to as Molly Murphy, and my pub name would be Sleeps in Fields. I am the only Fina, surprisingly, to have joined during this flourishing time."
Indeed. I First and foremost, he says, please allow me to extend my commiserations on your unfortunate situation of being unable to contact your family. I do hope that one day that will be resolved to everyone's satisfaction, and I do hope that eventually you will find some way of reconnecting with them.
Thank you.
Should I be able to be of assistance in that regard, please do not hesitate to let me know, and I will do what I can.
Thank you. I'll keep that in mind.
Very well. And he looks towards Fenna and says, but I understand that you have much the same problem.
Yeah. I killed 2 leeches. Fenna Mortensen. Yeah, I haven't been able to see my family, and they want to find me.
I can certainly understand why. Losing a child is obviously a distressing situation for any parent. I'm of the understanding that both you and Connell here are from Scandinavia.
Yeah, Denmark.
Very well. By that I also understand your tribe to be the warrior tribe, the Gets.
Yes.
You have powerful friends, son, he says, and looks at Aaron.
Aaron immediately and without flaw switches into engage with father mode, and he nods, looking directly at his father. Says, "Yes, father. One of them is a full moon, the other's a new moon."
Yes,
I've been graced with variety.
Yes, indeed, you have, which is obviously all the better. The more variety and the more different aspects, I suppose, would be the correct term, that you are able to cover within the same pack, the better, usually, particularly since Ross has been kind enough to explain the concept of your prophecy to me, that being Raven's prophecy for you. However, I did not mean to interrupt the proceedings. Let's hear it from the next person in line. That would be you, young man. And he looks at Connell.
Out of character, can I just ask something?
Yes, certainly.
Yes. So, how close to or far from Michael is Fenna sitting?
It's sniffy.
That's why she's dressless.
What?
Probably a couple of people over, I imagine.
Do it.
Okay.
No.
No, she's holding the urge back for now.
Burst out of the sofa and tackle him.
Well, actually, not doing it does require me to spend temporary willpower, and it's a storyteller how long one point.
He does notice that you are restless, and then he raises an eyebrow and goes, "Oh, I do apologize. I had been informed of this peculiarity," he says. He then takes out his handkerchief from his coat pocket and holds it over towards Fenna.
No! He's being evil!
Fenna blushes very, very deep red, and then she just kind of quietly takes the handkerchief in front of her face so nobody can see her blush.
He doesn't actually, his voice is condescending. The look on his face is one of this is perfectly acceptable. I have no problem with this whatsoever. And he just hands over his handkerchief and then turns to look at Connell.
He gets it back when Fenna feels like her face has turned to a normal temperature.
And as he looks at Connell, he'll see a young man trying his damnedest not to
laugh,
fall to the floor laughing.
Yes.
But he looks at Mr. Blackwell.
Yes.
Yeah, my name's Connell. I am bites hard because I bite hard.
Well,
I guess. I am Baguettes, Fenris. I don't have any family looking for me. I'd be surprised if I did, at least. Yeah. And I'm in cahoots with your son, apparently.
You also have, as he says, you're also a man of few words. That is not a bad character trait.
Mm.
You're quiet. It's a quality I appreciate in a warrior.
Well, he nods to Cornel as well. It's excellent. And right around this time, by the way, the drinks arrive and are served, and of course he strikes up casual conversation about the sights of Dublin in a very amiable and friendly and almost chatty kind of way while the valet is in the room, and then once he has left, he then immediately breaks that off again and turns to look at Taryn. Well, that leaves you, young lady.
I might add, because my audio has been on and off for the last hour, that Taryn has been keeping a surprisingly neutral face.
Yes.
None of the others have ever seen her with a business face like this.
No.
She looks kind of like him. Fake politeness.
Mm-hmm.
Not fake, but, you put on a face and you're
Yes.
polite.
Yes.
And she's kept this ever since they walked in.
Yes.
At the minute he talks at her, she just smiles. I'm Taryn Jones. I, also called Red Arms. I actually came from New York. But we just moved here right out before my change.
Indeed.
And I were luckily found by one of the set members.
Well, that is obviously for the good of everyone. I am led to understand that you have an affinity for the Weaver and that you are indeed quite tech-savvy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, I suppose in this day and age that is a very, very valuable trait to possess, and I am, in my own way, I am relieved that your group has your skills available to them. And again, in my day, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I'm sounding like I'm ancient, but in my day, people had difficulty figuring out where to turn on a computer, and it would usually lead to someone losing their temper and smashing the computer before they actually managed to turn it on.
He can't see it, but she is picturing him going completely bonkers over a PC that doesn't want to budge. But on the outside, she still has that polite smile.
Yes.
I was going to add, this is, at least to my understanding, not a viewpoint generally held in Garou society, is it? Like an appreciation for the modern?
That is, just a second. That is very much a sept to sept thing.
Okay.
It is a lot less pronounced. Let's just say it is a lot less pronounced now than it was when first edition of this game came out 20 years ago, where, even for us normal mortal human beings, the idea of the internet was something, whoa, strange, odd, fantastic, and you paid through the nose per minute to even be on the damn thing. So it has changed a bit in-game as well, but of course there's still a level of wariness towards it.
A bit of hostility towards things that are too of the Weaver.
Yeah, well, more hostility with some tribes than others.
Yeah.
It really depends, I guess.
Yes, it
where
very
the
much
sect is
does.
located.
Very much so, but it also very much depends on the individual werewolf's upbringing and tribe. For example, if you show a computer to a Wendigo or to a Red Talon, God forbid, then it's going to probably end badly.
It's gonna die hard.
Very. If you show it to Shadow Lord, there's a better chance that they will see it as a useful tool. Anyway, he he listens to everyone tell a little bit about themselves, and after that he smiles and he says, "Well, I hope none of you will bear me any ill will for the fact that I've already arranged dinner. And yes, I have taken into consideration that we have amongst us someone who does in fact not eat meat. But the food should be arriving very shortly."
Aaron flashes Taryn a little reassuring smile.
She actually doesn't even look at him. It's as if she doesn't even notice.
Aaron or his dad?
I think Aaron. Yeah, I think Aaron.
She doesn't. As if she doesn't even notice Aaron trying to give her a reassuring smile.
The food is brought up not long after that. It is a very, very well-cooked meal. It does include significant amounts of meat. Each of you, perhaps to your surprise, will find that your meat is cooked exactly the way you like. So somebody must have taken notice of that over the past 10 months or so, and well, Mr. Blackwell at least knows, and it's been prepared that way. Or in Taryn's case, of course, the vegetables involved in her food are all very fresh and they're expertly cooked.
I have a feeling that Taryn got all the veggies that Tally doesn't eat.
Something like that. Yes. Taliesin's plate
and all the meat she was supposed to have is now on Tally's plate because he doesn't eat vegetables.
Exactly.
He only eats meat.
Meat, yes. Mm-hmm.
As the dinner progresses, he continues to make I wouldn't say small talk. He keeps asking how your training is progressing. He takes turns to address each of you, and he shows a genuine interest in what each of you are doing. He is himself Arun, and he gladly shares a few combat tricks with Connell, for example, explaining a good takedown technique, and he also explains the concept of how to quite literally use your claws to eviscerate someone. He does this between two courses, incidentally.
How nice of him.
He takes time to talk to Tally about his recitals and about his poetry, and even about his singing. He has heard about these things clearly, and he shows a genuine interest in it. And if Tally isn't entirely put off by the idea, he also asks for a demonstration. He asks Tally to please, show me what you can do. And does he do this? Does Tally do this?
First, he asks, "Would you prefer something that I've worked on in terms of the sept, or would a folk song from, say, Wales be suitable to demonstrate singing capability?"
Well, let us say, he says, we are in the land of Oscar Wilde and Yeats. Why not hear what you've worked on for the sept?
Okay. He has been, aside from the sort of the piece that I've shown to you.
Yes.
Which, of course, yes. Tell you what, he'll start with some stuff that he's done otherwise concerning famous events in for the Sept and for Ireland regarding the Guru.
Mm-hmm.
Things that he taking special care, obviously, to start with one that he's done himself, and then explaining that he that he was encouraged to look into doing an interpretation of an existing one. And then he finishes off with the admittedly quite short, but still fairly heartfelt 6 verses of the Tale of the Fated Six, which concerns the group, the pack.
Yes. He listens very, very, very intently. After it's done, he nods with a genuine look of appreciation on his face and says, "You have talent, young man. I am certain that with more experience and with more events of great importance for you to relay to your sept and to your pack, you will develop into a very fine artist indeed. I have no doubt of it. You should be proud." And he turns to Taryn. At one point, he asks her about her work on her computer. He actually has a fair knowledge of computing, and more than that, of course, he is.
But you're really being mechanical for me right now.
Can you hear me now?
Great. Sound is completely whack.
Okay.
It's probably just the connection tearing up a bit on her end.
Yeah, I guess.
What?
Can you hear me? Can you hear us now?
What?
Okay. I think we may have to redial. What? Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's like someone is muffling your sound, but I hear you now. It's not hack, 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 electronics.
Okay, well,
hack.
at least you can hear me. That's the important part. He turns and he looks at you. And as I said, he knows a fair bit about computing. Actually, he's not entirely a novice at least not at the idea. More than that, of course, he is a very successful businessman, and he actually has a short but insightful conversation about the general direction of the IT business, and in particular with relations to how the IT world of Europe seems to be convalescing on Ireland, and particularly on Dublin. He points out to you that you would probably do well at some point to go to the still organ part of southern Dublin, and well, you are still not through your rite of passage, he says, so you're probably going to require some of your friends to come with you. But I am quite certain that you will find a number of spirits very friendly to you and to your tribe if you should go there. That place is the IT center of what has become the IT capital of Europe. It is just a suggestion, of course.
Taryn nods and thanks. This time it's surprisingly genuine.
And he gives a very genuine smile back and actually gestures towards the windows and says, well, if you look across the Grand Canal, he says, and he points towards a tall building across, and he points towards this place on the map, if you can see it.
What?
Can you see
I see a ping on Google.
Yes, exactly. And this, of course, right over there would be the Google headquarters, just to illustrate my point that this is, in fact, the European headquarters of most major IT companies. And he says, then he continues. Sorry?
AJ was kicked from the conversation again.
Oh, goodness me.
But I'll be right back.
Yep.
Wow,
what say you we take this time as break?
Yes,
that sounds like an excellent idea. Let's take a break and we'll be back shortly with more A Song of Tara. Yep. All right.
Hi again.
Hi. All right. Well, we'll just quickly make sure that everything's in order. We'll be back after the break.